Welcome to Everyday Ethics, everybody. I'm your host, Michael Liebowitz, and we're going to have a nice conversation today. We've got Persephone with us. Please remember that we love the super chats and super stickers. Also, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/everydayethics. Persephone, can I tell you a little something before we really get into the
Yes.
business of today? I'm annoyed,
Oh, good.
right? Let me tell you why. So, I, for a long, long time, studied the philosophy of Ayn Rand while I was incarcerated. And I remember thinking about how wonderful it would be to be able to interact with people who thought similarly, who had studied this stuff as well. And I knew that there was the internet, and on the internet you could find chat rooms and things of that nature. It hasn't. I mean, well, I don't want to overstate the case because I have met some very wonderful people who identify with this philosophy, and Jim Valiant, of course, first amongst them. But there's a lot of them that are unpleasant to sell the least. So recently we had a show here where we discussed the tent situation at festivals. So one of these guys felt the need not to just say, I don't think that's a good topic or anything of that nature. No, he had to just be an outright dick about it, right? So today, a guy asked a question on his Facebook about the concept of self-ownership. So I knew where to find an abundance of quotes on this topic from Ayn Rand. The guy is an objectivist, so I knew from Ayn Rand that you could, that there's an abundance of quotes from her on this topic. So what I did was I had the quotes, but they weren't very neat. They were from an article, and the article, he italicized some of them, and he cited it for a new intellectual, even though the original quote was from Atlas Shrugged. So what I did was I took all the quotes that I had, and I asked ChatGPT, just sequence them nicely for me, put them in a good format in one place, and cite the original sources, and that way I can share it with the Facebook feed. So I put from ChatGPT, and I posted it to answer the question. Below are the verbatim original passages from Atlas Shrugged with their proper in-book locations. These are the quotes, and I won't give all the citations because if you want, go to Facebook. They're there. Francisco d'Anconia says, "Money rests on the axiom that every man is the owner of his mind and effort." Now, I can show you an abundance of quotes where self is equated with the mind and objectivism. So let me put that aside for a second. Ellis Wyatt, what greater wealth is there than to own your life and spend it growing? That's also from Atlas Shrugged. John Galt, for centuries, the battle of morality was fought between those who claim that your life belongs to God and those who claim that it belongs to your neighbors, between those who preach that the good is self-sacrifice for the sake of ghosts in heaven and those who preach that the good is self-sacrifice for the sake of incompetence on earth. No one came to say that your life belongs to you and that the good is to live it. That is another quote from John Galt. So now the guy responds. Not with a simple, well, I disagree and here's why. No. Perhaps you should have simply said, let me chat GPT that for you. Do we even need real people anymore?
Oh, fuck off.
So he's, and then he says, but apparently you asked ChatGPT the wrong question. Owning your life is very different from owning yourself. Very different. Of course, your life is yours and the good is to live it. That was not the question. So I responded and I told him what I told you about the formatting. And I said, well, explain to me how you can own your life without owning yourself. I'm very interested in this. Of course, one of the quotes was about owning your mind, which in objectivism is frequently equated with yourself. But it was just the tone of the response. Like, why do you have to be a dick? And I'm really convinced that there's a lot of people on this planet who have simply never been in environments where when you're a dick, you get punched in your face. I really believe that. And you're not going to find somebody more opposed to to violence than I am, more opposed to fighting over words than I am. I promise you. But I really think that is the case, that people have been in environments where you can say whatever you want to whomever you want, and that inspires them to behave that way. I wasn't rude in my response to him. I wasn't a dick. Nothing. I just said, look, here's the quotes. And you get the first dick response about, oh, you could have just said, I go to ChatGPT. And apparently you asked the wrong question because these are very different things.
Obviously.
Okay.
Very.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you. So what I'm going to do, and you can tell me if you think I'm wrong for this. Because somebody asked me the other day, why do I go and say, let's debate? And they said, is the reason because you don't want to be violent? And that's part of it. It is. I'm realizing it right now as I'm in this mood. But the other reason is because the guy is so wrong, but such a dick about being wrong. Right? Now, he threw in this, do we even need people anymore? So my response is going to be, why don't you and I debate this question? Person versus person. We won't bring in ChatGPT. We won't bring in anything else. Just two human beings discussing the issue. My bet is going to be this. The response is, I have no interest in debating this. We can debate this on here. Now, there's a few reasons I dislike debating on Facebook or Twitter or anything else. One is I simply hate typing. The phone is very small. My fingers are very big. It takes forever. I don't like it. The other thing is oftentimes you'll type something, the guy doesn't see it for 3 hours. And then I've got to go back and check and see it. And sometimes you just miss it. It gets buried in comments. Right? It gets buried somewhere. So I much prefer, well, let's just debate like this. But my guess is the guy won't do it. So again, then why be a dick? That's the thing I just don't grasp. Do they not realize they're being a dick? And then it goes back to, is it because no one's ever punched you in the face for being a dick, so you don't realize that you're a dick and that being a dick has consequences? Thoughts? And is it even, another real quick, I'm sorry, I want to ask another question. Given my history, should I even ever mention this topic, that people sometimes act this way because no one's ever punched them in the face? Because then the claim will be, oh, look, this guy, he's referencing violence. So let me just state unequivocally, I am 100% against violence for any purpose other than self-defense. 100%. But it does seem to me, in my experience, that there's a lot of people online that act a certain way online because of this. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you, FF Mermani, for the super sticker. Yes, we love super stickers.
So a lot of people exist on the internet in echo chambers. They surround themselves with people who have similar ideas. And it encourages this. Whenever someone has an idea that differs slightly from yours, it encourages them to be like, no, us versus them, me versus you. This is a fight, because you're so used to your echo chamber where everybody agrees with you that the second someone comes in and challenges you, it doesn't feel like a conversation. It feels like an attack, because they are not used to being challenged on their ideas. And I agree with you. They probably haven't ever been in a situation where if they say the wrong thing, they do get punched in the face. I think that's a fair thing to say. I think it's fair to say, like, I don't think that you should punch people in the face, but if more people were punched in the face when they said stupid shit, less people would say stupid shit. Like, I think that's a fair thing to
So,
say.
so Mr. Deagle says, I don't. Oh, Jim Valiant is there. I don't think you were right about that because people are dicks even when a fight is very possible. Some people, but there's a lot of people that aren't. Let me just put it to you as clear as I can. I know from experience, a lot of it, that there's a lot of people that in prison they have a term for it, cell gangsters. For people who, when they're behind a door, act one way, and when they're out amongst their peers, act very differently.
As someone who has never been in prison,
Yeah.
someone who is a 5'6" woman, I have had plenty of people get snotty with me in person until they realize this was 10 years ago when I was
I got it.
young,
I got it. I got it.
younger and more, I had people who got very snotty with me and try to pick fights, and then as soon as they realized that I was willing to deck them, they stopped.
Yes. See, Jim makes a good point, and look, Jim says being a dick implies insecurity in their views more than the possibility of violence. I agree with that. But he says that even in person, most heated debates do not result in violence. But there can be heated debates without somebody being a dick. Right? And there's a big difference in my view. You know what I mean?
You and Mark have gotten into some very heated
Yes.
debates, and neither of you has resorted to name calling or
Right.
saying, well, obviously it's like this. So neither of you has resorted to dickishness, even though things between, like when you've had discussions, it has gotten very heated.
Right. I don't know. Maybe it's that there's in my mind when I'm thinking about somebody being a dick, it's often in tone, its manner of speaking, it's what is said. It's not just heated disagreement or even name calling for that matter that I'm talking about. Like if I was in a heated argument with Mark and he said, "Jesus, you're a stubborn asshole," like that to me wouldn't be being a dick.
Yeah, but this guy saying, well, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, which it's not, in which you're wrong. And here's the thing. I had this argument with this guy 3 years ago. So all the quotes that I had ChatGPT put up, I didn't know anything about ChatGPT then. So I just manually posted the quotes to him.
Uh,
Right? So, but the reason, let me kind of bring this back to the topic of the show. I think this is relevant to ethics because ethics requires thought, thinking. It requires us to not simply reference a text, not simply say, well, this person said this. It requires being able to reason by analogy, understanding how principles apply. For instance, let me just give the example in this. When somebody says you own your life, you own your mind. To say that you can own your life and own your mind, but you don't own yourself would be an obvious contradiction. It's not possible. First of all, life is a broader concept than self, but self is encompassed within the concept of my life. Right? So it's just not possible to do that. But the interesting thing was, again, is in this scope, I was not even making the argument for self-ownership. My point was simply to show them that within their philosophy, the person who put together their philosophy, had a concept of owning yourself. You can go argue with her, right? By the way, I'm going to do a show today about my agreements and disagreements with Ayn Rand. But what I find people want to do is they want to have their disagreements and eat them too. Right? They want to have their disagreements but not say their disagreements. Instead, they just claim, no, that's not what she meant or that's not what she said, because then they don't have to disagree. That's my experience.
That's that's dumb to me because I think that if you're so blindly loyal, or like if you're so, I can't think of a better way to phrase that. If you're so blindly loyal that you can't say I disagree with this, then you're not you're
You're
not
not what?
really thinking about the ideas. You're expressing tribalism in a different way. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
Because
abso-freaking-lutely.
because you should be able to say I agree with this for these reasons, not this is true because Ayn Rand said so. Or this is true because Liquid Zulu says so. This is true because James Valiant said so. This is true because Michael Lieb. No, you shouldn't do that. You should.
Hold on. I disagree. Once Jim Valiant says it, that makes it true.
Okay, okay. So if it's Jim Valiant, then it's true. If it's Michael Liebowitz, it's 95% true. If it's anyone else, reason for yourself.
Yes. There you go. You've hit the nail on the proverbial head.
Okay. Um, I think that everybody should expose themselves to different ideas. I think that putting yourself in an echo chamber can be can feel more comfortable, but is dangerous in the long run. Because I think that you need to expose yourself to different ideas so that you can reason through your own beliefs and so that you can learn to have disagreements without being a dick. Yes, Boost. Disagreement is good. Oh, also, it's Boost's birthday today. So happy birthday to.
Happy birthday, Booster Seat 11.
Yes,
Happy birthday, Booster Seat 11.
that's
All
my
right.
best. That's my best friend. I'll have you know.
Well, that's good to know. Happy birthday. So now that we've had me venting, because this happened, I just was getting in the shower. So it happened right before I got in the shower. I saw this dickish comment.
Well, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of them, but just coming back to the wanting to debate thing, right?
Yes.
So the other day, I made the mistake of opening your TikTok and reading some of the comments. And I told you this, right? I told you that some of the comments were so stupid and so illogical. I wouldn't want to respond to those comments, but I would want to have a conversation with those people because I feel like trying to have a debate in the TikTok comments or in the comments of a video on a post is too difficult because there is too much time for this person to not really engage and find a way to. So I also, when the comments are that stupid, and kind of dickish because they would like the one was talking about me and said, "Oh, well, she's clearly an idiot," and I was like, "Well, I mean, you're clearly wrong." But it would be so much better to just sit these people down and have a conversation and be like, tell me why you think that. I will tell you why I think what I think, and then we can, see if we can find a middle ground instead of just leaving a TikTok comment going, well, she's clearly a moron because, sick people go to hospitals and they die. And then I have to leave a comment and go, it's, I would much rather just have a conversation with them. So
Me
I get
too.
that. Would you like to know the rabbit hole I fell down just before this episode? So I was looking at moral dilemmas. I go and I look at what the
Yes.
moral dilemmas were that people are sharing. So I found one, and the moral dilemma itself is neither here nor there, right? It's I'm going to tell you what it is. So
You
it's
tell me
this
what
guy,
it is.
but the moral dilemma is not what I want to talk about. But I'm going to tell you what it is anyway. So this guy posted and he said he applied for a position related to AI because he's interested in engineering, but he's been drawn to making chatbots and stuff. And the position that he applied for is a position where he would be generating AI stories to post on the internet. How this is a job, I don't know. But he applied for this job, and now he's thinking it would look good on his resume, but now that he's thinking about it, he is not sure that if he should do it because he knows the damaging environmental effects of AI, and he would be producing AI slop, and he surrounded himself with AI haters. So the idea of taking this job feels wrong to him.
Okay.
So that was the moral dilemma that he posed. And that's not particularly interesting. What was interesting to me was that someone in the comments posted the actions that impose the least on others would be the most moral. Check out our website for a bit better of an answer to your question. So I went to this website, and it is called the Church of the Best Possible World. And
Really?
yes, so it is the Church of the Best Possible World. And I would just like to read you the rules of
All
this
right.
the rules of this moral framework, right? So you can start chapters of the Church of the Best Possible World. It Okay, so here are the rules of the best possible world. Don't make people worse off without a good reason. If you can get consent, get it. If consent is sketchy, treat it as no consent. Never impose more than needed. Always choose the least imposing option. Don't dump burdens on people who can't push back. If you must impose, spread the burden fairly. Fix structural impositions when you see them. If you're unsure, default to reducing imposition. Your freedom ends where another's imposed harm begins. So I looked at this and I thought there are aspects of this that I agree with, and there are aspects of this that are so kind of like a little bit wacky to me. This is social ethics, right? They're talking about the harm that you do to other people. But a person could live by these rules and end up living a completely passive and irrational life despite following this moral framework. So they would never impose on another person, but there is nothing in this moral framework that talks about what you owe to yourself. It's all about like reducing your impact on others.
Well, that is actually, you hit the nail on the head. That's what I was going to say. My problem is that it's all about other people. It's not about how you can flourish. It's not about what's best for you. It's all about other people.
Reducing it's all about reducing imposition on other people. Um, James, I will look into what impose means, but this is like a sprawling website, right? They've put a lot of effort into this.
It's sprawling.
Sprawling. The thing that I found interesting about this is that there is some crossover, there's some overlap with objectivism, but the fact that you could follow this moral framework and like live a completely passive and irrational life is interesting to me. The question that I wanted to ask you is if someone followed, if someone found this, right? Okay, hold on. Let me take a step back. The average person is living with some sort of mix of like religious guilt, social approval seeking, some sort of like utilitarianism or deontological like mishmash going on in their head, right?
Okay.
And they have no set moral framework. They haven't really they haven't thought about the framework of their ethics. If someone found this and they lived by this set of ethics, is that better than nothing? Is that like a net good for
Well, I
that
don't.
person?
I would have to know how they were living beforehand. I mean, like it's like AA, for instance. I think AA is not a good philosophy. I think that it's counterproductive in many, many, many ways. But if somebody is a raving abusive alcoholic And the choices are between being a raving, abusive alcoholic or giving himself to AA. I would say, well, AA is the better result for that person and for the people around him. So if the person comes across this philosophy is a real jerk, goes places, he's mean to the waitress, he's mean to everybody else, whatever, and he finds this and puts it into practice, it's probably going to be an improvement. If it's somebody that is generally a good person but just doesn't think philosophically, but is nonetheless engaging in behaviors that I would consider ethical, and then he devolves into this, then it would be worse off.
Hmm.
What do you mean?
I'm thinking through what you said because I'm
Oh,
trying to think. I'm gonna crash that boy's motorbike. There, there. Say something while I think.
something while I think.
No, you speak.
Okay, I will speak. So the episode that I'm going to be recording, I'll probably record it about 4 p.m. Eastern time. If I don't have it up tonight on the Rational Egoist, I will have it up tomorrow. It'll be a conversation with myself. So it'd probably be great because when I talk to myself, things get very, very interesting. So there's that. Jim Valiant and I pretty soon will be doing an episode on the next virtue in our series. That'll be great. I find, that there's a lot of people out there that don't think very deeply about ethics that I would think are decent people, right? That they're generally, they're nice, they're hardworking, they're productive, they're generally honest, they're not violating the rights of others. There's a lot of people like that. But a disconnect often comes in with, for instance, some examples, maybe the advice that they would give to somebody else, or the politicians and the policies that they would vote for. There ends up being inconsistencies if they were to take the tests that you had me take yesterday and that Mr. Deagle did very well on. If they were to take that, you'd see these inconsistencies, and these inconsistencies do have real world effects, but they're nevertheless decent human beings. And I think that probably most of the people that I come in contact with fit that bill.
I agree with you, but I mean, I think the mix of religious guilt, which I think a lot of people have, and social approval seeking, like I think that does tend to create behaviors that are generally
Sure, I agree.
good. Do you
Oh,
but do
wait a
you,
second. What did you say? It creates behaviors that are generally good?
well, I mean, generally make a person okay.
Just okay?
Yes, just okay.
Well, I mean, because religious guilt can manifest itself in a lot of ways. You could be badgering other people to join your religion, badgering
Oh,
people.
no, 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 no. So I'm not talking about like if you are religious. I'm talking about like
Okay.
if you are non-religious but you still carry around. I was raised Catholic Mormon, right? I know better, and I still carry around a whole bunch.
What does that mean, Catholic Mormon?
My mother was Catholic, and my father was a Mormon.
Oh, so they taught you both?
So I went to both. I went to both churches until I was 18.
Oh, my Lord. What a way to screw up a kid's head.
Yeah, that's true. I also did I did catechism, and then I had to do a year of the Mormon version, which is I can't remember what it's called. So I had to do a year of that and a year of catechism. So I carry around a whole lot of religious trauma. Um so even though I'm not religious anymore, um I still carry some of that around, and some of that still influences my snap decision making, even though I should know better because it's been like nearly 20 years.
You ever hear of Karen Horney?
Mm, doesn't ring a bell.
Do you know the tyranny of the shoulds?
That rings a bell.
Well, she came up with this idea of the tyranny of the shoulds. That when you should yourself to death, you can end up with a lot of problems. So when you say, I should be over this by now, for instance,
That's not what I said. I said I should know better.
okay, I should know better, but you're talking about knowing better in regard to trauma that you underwent as a kid that was built into you and is affecting your behavior. And you're saying you should know better, which is a roundabout way of saying I should be over this by now. And I don't know that the human psyche works that way. I certainly don't think that you can put a demand on the time it takes to completely get that stuff out of your head. And by putting that kind of pressure and saying, I should be over this, I think that that's counterproductive. Now, if you say, I shouldn't act this way, it would be better for me to act this way. Okay, because you have direct control over how you're acting. You don't have direct control over every thought that comes into your head and every emotion that you feel.
That's a good way to look at it.
Thanks.
Yeah, you see, 95% of the time you're right.
95, huh?
Yeah, 95. I'll find the 5%. There was actually two people who did the test yesterday.
Yeah, Guitar Channel did as well. And
Yeah,
My friend Danny did too.
did he also get a 0?
No, he got 20%.
Hey, me and Danny are the same.
Yeah. But I have a bone to pick. If nobody has a question, I have a bone to pick with that philosophy site. They advertised a free IQ test. So I spent, and it said it was going to take 5 minutes. It took me probably 15. And while I was doing it, it told me I was going faster than 90% of the people. So how do you advertise a 5-minute test that takes 15 and tells me I'm faster than 90% of the people? But then at the end of it, it says, okay, now for your results, just pay us $2.
Oh, it was only $2?
$1.99.
Oh,
Now,
see,
who knows? Maybe I
s-
pay that and it says, oh, that's just for each category that they have. Because they have different areas and different sections.
yeah, the IQ tests always do that, and it's you said it's the sunk cost thing. They're banking on the sunk costs,
Yeah,
and I
you're
think
like, oh,
that's
I just spent 15 minutes doing this. I might as well spend the $2.
I also did one about God and I got an 87% on consistency, but only because the test is wrong. Mr. Deagle was that battleground God because if it was, there was two places that I fucked up as well.
I'm going to look into it and I'll be the judge of whether it's wrong or not. Okay, do you have any other questions, Persephone, for me before we wrap up? I mean, I can go for, a little bit longer if there's questions,
N-
but I don't want to
n-
just sit here.
I mean, no, there's always more stuff that. Yes, Mr. Deagle, I took two bullets as well. Uh, no, I did sort of want to talk about Rock's comment from Capitalist Corner where he said that you choose your emotions.
Yes.
Um, so that's not true, obviously.
No, I think what he meant was that you can choose the way you think, and then your emotions will follow. The problem is this. So I can quickly, if I'm feeling down, recognize it and alter my thoughts, and then my emotions will follow. That's because I can control my thinking to a large degree, but it's also because I've trained myself to do that. That's not the same thing as I'm sad and I can just say I'm going to be happy now. Like, what if you suffered a serious death in the family, somebody you really, really love? If you could just say, no, I'm going to be joyful and happy about this, that's like demented almost, but it's also impossible. Now you might be able to get over it more quickly or move on, somebody else, move on quicker than somebody else who's not adept at thinking and not adept at organizing their thoughts. I mean, that's what cognitive behavioral therapy does. But that's a different argument than saying you can just alter your emotion. Jim says you can pay $200 an hour to get the whole battery. MMPI, IQ, personality, and aptitude tests. I've done so much self-analysis personality test, answering questions, asking myself questions. Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah. I'm thinking of going to see a therapist.
You have me.
Would you like to be my therapist?
No.
No, I didn't think so. Not
I
not
I
fair.
I
Not
I,
not
I would not want to I got 127 on the Mensa test, Mr. Deagle, and I got 127 20 something years ago and 127 when I took it 2 years ago, same exact score. I think if I was your therapist to find out all the the hidden crush that you have on me and all that stuff, I think it would just make things weird.
but you already know about that, so how much would change really? Do you, so just coming back to this emotion thing, do you think that the self-help industry and some of the books that have been published that are sort of more schlocky, do you think that that some people do believe that they can control, that they choose their emotions, right? That's a genuine belief that some
I
people
do
have.
think that I first of all like a lot of self help motivational books. I think are great. I also think there's a lot of them that make ridiculous claims, like the book The Secret, which is wildly popular, is utterly just demented. That you're responsible for every single thing that happens to you. You go out and get in a car accident. Somebody crashes into you, and it's your thoughts have attracted. I mean, that's just idiotic.
Yeah,
And
you
I
gave yourself cancer, you caused
yeah,
your mother
just
to die.
yeah, real stupid.
Um, yeah, I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I don't know. I just thought it was interesting because if you're experiencing an emotion that is not irrational.
Robert's
Irrational is not.
here.
Hi, Robert.
I've never one time seen Robert be a dick to anybody.
I have.
You've seen Robert Nacer be a dick to somebody?
Yes, but I won't tell you. I know I'm lying. I've never seen him be a dick, just popping off at the mouth. Um, if you know that you're experiencing an emotion that is not rational, oh, that's not the right word. What is your process if you're
If I'm what?
I'm trying to phrase my question, but once again I'm stuck because my brain moves faster than my mouth moves faster than my brain. If you're experiencing an emotion that you know is irrational, right? What is your process for identifying that this emotion is
Well, the first thing,
irrational?
I don't focus on my emotions. That's the first thing. I focus on my thinking and what thinking I've done or not done. And I want to know primarily is not how do I feel. I want to know if my thoughts are corresponding to reality, if my thoughts are accurate. So, for instance, I think I've mentioned on this show before that I used to do daily thought reports to assess which thinking errors I was making, how often I was making them, how I was thinking during this, what was leading to it, that sort of thing. And one of the things I noticed as a result of this that was perhaps the most beneficial aspect of it and was a great side effect was that 99% of the stuff that I worried about never occurred. So I'd be like, oh, what if this happens? Oh, no, what's this guy going to think? What's this guy going to think? And I would get myself all worked up about it. So let me give you an example. Brent McCall, my best friend, was my cellmate in prison for 11 years. We were close friends probably 5 years before we even were cellmates. We were in the cell and he made more money than I did. And he told me, drink whatever coffee you want. Go ahead. The coffee's there. Take it. I'll buy the coffee. Just, drink it. Okay. And I started to think and I started to worry, am I drinking too much coffee? Is Brent going to get upset with me over drinking all the coffee? If we run out, is Brent going to get pissed? Of course, he never mentioned it. Now, the point is, it's not that the worry or that the feeling of anxiety is irrational. The point is that my thinking was just not accurate. And there was an abundance of evidence over the course of a decade and a half that would tell me that if Brent tells me go ahead and drink coffee, Brent means go ahead and drink coffee. He's not just, if Brent had an issue, he would have told me only drink X amount of coffee. He wouldn't say drink whatever coffee you want. So the problem is that I wasn't tracking reality properly. So if I'm in a situation where I'm getting upset about something, like for instance, I'm getting angry at Diana, I would ask, am I being unfair? Is my judgment accurate? Is it what I'm saying corresponding to truth? Am I being too harsh? How am I communicating what I want done? Now, I'm not saying I always do that. I mean, I slip and I sometimes am a jerk, but I try to do that. And if my thinking is on point, then my emotions are going to be on point as well, meaning that they're going to be appropriate to the situation. So when Melissa got cancer and was sick, I was devastated. When somebody says I can control my emotions, that to me entails, so when I was in the hospital, so the first day I took Melissa, she tested positive for COVID, and I was sick as well. So I just assumed we all had COVID, her, me, and probably her son as well, but she wasn't getting over it. So my thinking was, I said, listen, you've got to go to the emergency room. We've got to get this looked at. I'm thinking she probably has pneumonia that's sticking around after the COVID. Cancer never occurred to me. So when we're in she went in, I took her to the emergency room. I figured, okay, we'll be there maybe an hour, get x-rays done, and we'll take off. So the first thing they told her was, your lungs are, you have, I forgot what it's called now. Her lung was filled with water. There's a word for it that's slipping. And they said, we can't get a good view of your lung until we drain it. So we have to drain your lung and then we'll be able to do it. So I'm thinking, okay, that makes sense. She's got fluid buildup in her lung.
Pulmonary edema.
Yeah, that just came to me, but I think there was actually another word too for it. But anyways, pulmonary edema. It's like unilateral or single something. But either way, so they end up doing the test. They end up doing the x-ray. They drained the lung, did the x-ray, and I'm in the room with her. And the doctor says, we do see a spot. The second he said that, I knew what it meant. I mean, it wasn't like I needed to keep thinking about it. You know what I mean? I knew it meant tumor. Now, whether it's cancerous, that I didn't know, but I knew tumor, and I knew a tumor in the lung is not a good thing. My immediate sense was just like I was devastated initially, immediately. Melissa doesn't want me to show this. She kept getting mad at me because she doesn't want me to show my upset in front of her son because she doesn't want me to concern him. So I did have to hide it. But the idea that in that moment I could just say, don't be concerned. Don't feel this fear. Don't panic. Just be okay. Maybe be happy is just ludicrous. What I was able to do initially was say to myself, okay, you don't know much. This is just the first thing they're telling you. It might be nothing. It doesn't mean it's cancerous. Move on. And all through the process, I was able to do that so I didn't get ahead of myself. Okay, even if it is cancerous, we don't yet know it's gone beyond the lung. I would keep doing that. And of course, I said to myself, well, after a while, I had to come to terms with the fact that she was going to die. Whether it was going to be in a week, I never thought it would be so quick. I thought 18 months to 5 years was what I was thinking. And so I had to prepare myself. And so every night before I went to bed, I would bring it into my conscious awareness and just accept it as the inevitable thing. I would feel the emotion, feel the fear, and I would tell myself, regardless, I will be able to live my life. It's going to suck. It's going to be painful, but I can live. So while I was in pain about it, and while it was sad, and still just thinking about it now is saddening me, I understood my thinking was accurate that death is a part of life. We're all going to die. You, me, little Vinny, her son, everybody's going to die. Unfortunately, she's going to die sooner, and that sucks. It doesn't mean my life is over. She wouldn't want me to live my life as if it's over. So this is my thinking process. It didn't eliminate the pain or eliminate the upset, but it did allow me to put things in perspective so that I wasn't overwhelmed and destroyed by what was going on. So in that sense, I can track my thinking, make sure it's accurate, corresponds to reality, and my emotions do follow. But if I were to tell myself, you know what? Because emotions follow thinking. You know what? This actually isn't an important value to me. It's not that. Who cares? I can just be happy. That would be like demented to think that way. And it's just as demented to say I could just control my emotions in that situation.
There are, as you were talking, I had so many thoughts.
Okay.
I I think that a lot of people have absorbed that anger, for instance, is a bad emotion and you shouldn't feel anger. I've heard a lot of people say that you shouldn't be angry. And that does make them behave in very strange ways because they're trying not to be angry. I'm like, who? Why? Be angry. Doesn't matter if you're angry. Don't like scream at someone who doesn't deserve it. Don't take your anger out on other people.
I'm very curious, and I'm trying to understand what Robert is saying in the chat here.
About he used to be good at hurting people's feelings.
Yeah, did somebody tell you, Robert, that you had an overdeveloped sense of vengeance, or are you telling me I have an overdeveloped sense of vengeance? He put it in quotes, so I'm uncertain. But either way, we've gone 17 minutes over, and I do have to get to work and prepare for other things. Thank you, everybody, so much for participating today. Thank you for engaging in the conversation. FF Mermani, thank you for the 99-cent super sticker. It is very, very appreciated. We will be back tomorrow. Maybe we can continue this discussion. How's that sound, Persephone?
That sounds great.
2:30. Oh, it's a movie line. Oh, it's the opposite of Robert. Okay. Tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be back. What do you have to say, Persephone? Go ahead. I can see.
Uh, Go to the Everyday Ethics Patreon because on Sunday at 11 a.m. we're having a group call. The last one was a lot of fun. I hope more people join because it was great fun. Please go and listen to Everyday Ethics on Spotify. The episodes are a day late, but you can listen to them in the
But
car.
but not a dollar short.
Not a dollar short. They are day late. Please go listen on Spotify and rate Everyday Ethics because that will help to reach a wider audience. Share from Spotify and from YouTube. Yeah, that was it.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Until tomorrow, be ethical.